And what is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Renegade Roundtable here on the channel. I am Jeffrey Kirby, and today things are going to be a little bit different tonight. We got a lot we got to get into. The NFL just released within the last hour or so a new COVID-19 protocol memo that was just released, and it is getting a lot of heat for it. We definitely are going to have to get into that because that is something that's affecting. Obviously, it's not affecting the Pittsburgh Steelers here personally right now, but it's something that something to watch out for, and is also affecting how the AFC and the AFC playoffs is going, just with some of the different teams that have been involved. We also got the Urban Meyer firing. We'll get into a little bit of that later on in the show if we have time, and then we'll try to get a little bit more into the Steelers-Titans matchup that's coming up this Sunday at 1:00. That's a huge game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but before we do get started, though, I would like to say we just recently hit 200 subs, and I want to say thank you so much for everyone who has been showing love, who's been showing support. We really do appreciate you here a ton. Me and Caleb, I know he's not here with us tonight. I made it sound like he's dead. He's not with us here on the show tonight. But yeah, we do. I know I can speak on him for this. We both appreciate everyone so much for showing the love. I know last week I did a live stream where I reacted to the Steelers game live. That was actually booming. Again, shout out to Tom Grossi. He was a Packer fan. They rated us, so I appreciate all those, everyone in that, all the new subscribers. Welcome to the family. Now, I have an announcement that we're going to get into later on in the show. Something that's going to be coming up here on the channel here, coming up this weekend actually. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. But now we got some stuff we got to get into in terms of the NFL and the new COVID protocols here. We're just going to go. Let's start off here, and for anyone, I understand this is a Pittsburgh themed channel here, but for this show, obviously every and all fan bases are welcomed here. Go ahead, drop your comments. If you're a Browns fan, 'cause I know you guys are being affected by this a ton. If you're a Washington football fan, if you're a LA Rams fan, or any other team that's being affected by this, make sure, go ahead, let's talk about it. Drop your comment. Obviously, in terms of the fandom, that's kind of, in this situation, going out of the window, and we're going to be serious here when it comes to this. So let's start off here. I'm going to show you guys the memo here that we got earlier today. This was from Ian Rappaport. That's where I got it, so shout out to Ian Rappaport for that. Talking about the new this was the memo earlier today. And I have it here popped up on my laptop over here, so it would be a little bit easier for me to see whenever it decides to want to load here on my thing. So give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. So the NFL, this was what they had said in the memo earlier today. Throughout the pandemic, we have continued to evaluate our protocols as the scientific evidence evolves, and based on the advice of our medical experts and public health guidance, given the recent increase in positive cases across the country and in our club's environments, and the emergence of a new and seemingly more contagious variant, we have agreed with the NFLPA to the following updates to the COVID protocols. These changes will take effect immediately and will remain in effect throughout the conclusion of Week 15's games as we continue to discuss modifications with the NFLPA. So Hunter says the NFLPA is making a very strong push for the NFL for the Browns-Raiders game on Saturday to be postponed. So here's my thought on that. On one hand, yes, you could completely understand why you would, and especially with the fans, the NFLPA in itself, you understand why. You look at what you guys have with the Browns. You guys just lost your starting quarterback in Baker Mayfield and your backup quarterback in Case Keenum. So now you're going with a guy like Nick Mullins as your starting quarterback, who this will be his first time, playing in a Browns uniform. And now, on top of that, you lose guys like Jarvis Landry. You got David Njoku back, which is nice, but you still lost Austin Hooper. You're down Wyatt Teller. You're down Jedrick Wills, and you're down a bunch of other guys. And you have some players, like I heard Malcolm Smith for you guys today say that he talked about about how he would just rather get these games done and over with. He doesn't want, because here's something to take into consideration too. Because right now, the situation now we are in week 15. Right now, there's not all that much wiggle room that you could have in terms of how you want to play these games. And I'm telling you right now, and I understand where the players are going to be coming from when they say they would rather just get these games done and over with. Because you do not want to get into a situation where you have to play 4 games in 21 days. It's not a good recipe, especially for you guys when you're in a situation where you're trying to fight for the playoffs. Per NFL CBA Article 25, clubs may carry fewer than 48 players on their active list during the regular season or postseason, but no fewer than 44 players. Browns have less than 44. They have 38, 41, including practice squad. So, yeah, right now, and this was a question that you had to start asking yourself for any fan base, whether in this situation, what has to happen if you get where a team maybe has 25, 30 players that are on the COVID list. You guys have 2 coaches. You got Kevin Stefanski, who's also he had a booster shot. And then I think it's your guys' running back coach, if I'm not mistaken, who else was affected by this. So it's a very messed up situation, because right now the Browns fans are saying, if this was Baltimore, they did it last year for Baltimore. I need to stop this right here, because yes, that affected the Steelers as well, because we were sitting here like, so you're just going to let everyone get healthy. The issue with that is right now there's new information. B, you could say, postpone it, and that could very well make sense in terms of the health and safety of the players. 5 Browns practice with COVID today, just announced. Yeah, and that is not good, because now everyone else that was affected by this, because they ran a full practice, because I actually did listen to the press conferences yesterday for you guys, because this was something I wanted to monitor. And you had Mike Prefer, who is the special teams coordinator for you guys, now the interim head coach, or the acting head coach, talked about how yesterday they ran walkthroughs, and Kevin Stefanski said that as well. So you run into the situation now even more players are affected by this. Real quick, let's continue on with the memo here. So meetings. In-person meetings for Tier 1 and Tier 2 individuals, including coaches and players, are prohibited unless they are held outdoors or in the practice bubble, which all the individuals physically distance. All other meetings must be conducted virtually. Okay, so in that particular situation, it kind of sounds like last year. You're going to just see a lot of this in general, just have a lot of virtual meetings. And you saw last year where you could have where it worked just fine for virtual meetings. Everyone in the organization has been exposed. I don't know how it's not canceled. All bias aside, I want to see them play Saturday, definitely, but no team should have to play like this. And honestly, I'm not mad at you for saying that. I'm not mad for Baker Mayfield for what he tweeted out just a little bit ago. I can't get mad at him, because at the end of the day, yes, you would want to see your favorite team play, but also, when you're in a situation now where I just named off just a bunch of guys earlier, and that's not even a half of them. You're missing 2 quarterbacks, 2 offensive linemen, a tight end, and it makes yourself ask yourself, what if this continues, and what happens with what happened to you guys last year, when the whole entire wide receiver room got affected. I mean, I don't blame any person or any fan saying, this game needs to be postponed. And at this point, it kind of seems like the whole forfeit thing was pretty much a bluff. Because, there's always going to be new information. That's something that we all need to take into consideration with that. Because back when that was said in July, obviously this is a new variant. This new variant is a whole lot more contagious. They did not maybe anticipate that before. So I don't blame any fan base. And this is something that might need to happen if you're in a situation of this for any team. Missing starting and backup QB, Kareem, 2 wide receivers, left tackle, right guard, right tackle. Our whole defensive room is gone. Besides Denzel and Greedy, we literally have no safeties. Yeah, Grant Delpit was the most recent for you guys that just came out, and so and it makes you wonder really if the NFL is just doing this just so they could get the games out of the or just to. Because people are still going to go to the games. People are still going to watch. And it really makes you question those things. But let's continue on here. With the memo. For weight room, so no more than 15 players may work out in a single weight room at one time, regardless of vaccination status. Okay, I really have no issue with that. That's just something that you needed to have happen. So now let's go into the second page of this. So meal rooms, pretty much all it says is that it's a grab and go. You're not allowed to just sit with each other and eat like you usually would, like in a cafeteria situation. So it's just pretty much grab and go for your food. Clubs must limit access to the meal room or stagger meal times to permit physical distancing. So again, just making sure there's social distancing. Wow, Baker just dropped a bomb. All right, well, let me go and check this out now because I feel like let me go to Baker's Twitter real quick because I guess now I need to go and see this. Baker Mayfield. So his tweet, or I saw the first part of it. Tell me if this makes sense. No tests this morning. Then let our team gather for practice, then show up after practice to test them. Something seems off here. NFL did not test Browns players this morning before practice. They instead showed up after practice and tested, which is very, excuse my language, that's so fucked up. It should be just the moment you get there, test in the morning, and then once your test results come in, then that'll determine. That should be what happens instead of waiting till after practice. Now you get into a situation like this where you have multiple players getting affected where they tested positive and they were practicing with each other just prior. That honestly makes zero sense to me. That's when they found out 5 positives. What the F? Why wouldn't they test before? That's awful on the NFL. Yeah, that makes absolutely zero sense. That would... Yeah, I agree with that. That makes absolutely zero sense, and that's completely dumb. Let's continue on with this. So, team travel. All staff and players will be prohibited to from receiving visitors at the team hotel or going out to dinner for entertainment in the away city, regardless of vaccination status. All right. I mean... It's smart. That's what you have to do if you're the NFL. You got to limit, and this is again. It feels like it's going back to the protocols that we had last year. They're limiting. You couldn't go anywhere when you were away in the team hotel. You couldn't visit anyone, so you were pretty much isolated as much as possible. Activities outside of the club facility. Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 staff and players will be subject to the following restrictions on activity outside of the club facilities through the conclusion of Week 15's games. Public player and coaches' appearance and or charity events will be prohibited. So pretty much any of the players who had charity events planned or scheduled already. That is not happening. I know Baker Mayfield was earlier this week was actually in the city that I live in. So they were, and then you saw what that happened. The place that he did that at, the Boys and Girls Club, that ended up being closed for the rest of the week. So just released the 5 positives: Case Keenum, Grant Delpit, AJ Green, Jacob Phillips, and Ronnie Harrison. Okay, so Ronnie Harrison, I think, was already going to be a question mark based on because he was dealing with a prior injury before. So that's something he was going to be a question mark to begin with. Case Keenum is a big loss because he was a veteran guy who's played in that offense before, and he's not going to be fazed by anything that he sees. Delpit, AJ Green, again, just adding that's being more harsh with the secondary room. Jacob Phillips, he just came back, if I'm not mistaken. And there goes another DB and with Green, and now the linebackers are getting hit. Yeah, this is going to get huge backfire if the NFL actually makes the Cleveland Browns play on Saturday. And because this just seems very messed up, and I could understand where people are, people are going to say, well, you made Baltimore, you let Baltimore do it, you pick and choose when you're going to change it, when you're going to postpone games, and this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. It's a very, very messed up situation. So yeah, pretty much house gatherings of more than 15 people without the player or a staff member, and all guests wear masks or PPE, wear social distancing. So pretty much, again, it's just being safe, making sure. So yeah, it's just, again, going back to, seems like the protocols that you had beforehand. At the very beginning of this, where no less than 10, or you can't be around 10 people or less, or or more, whatever. Can't be around more than 10 people. Social distance and all that. As of 1 minute ago, from an NFL spokesman, no change to the Browns game. I highly so here's my thing. It is 6:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Thursday. I'm really having a hard time believing that the NFL is really going to make this happen. Going to make you guys play because but here's the thing though. And I know that that Browns fans might give me hate for this, and that's fine. And I've heard your own fan base say this as well. But you guys are in a situation where you guys are fighting for a playoff spot. Really, the only game that you could afford to lose is the next week's game against Green Bay at Green Bay. And it's like, we're fighting for a playoff spot, and now we're going to get screwed from this. Well, I can truly see Roger Goodell, if you're saying that particular part, just say, look at some of the games that you guys lost to when you guys were healthy. The Chargers game, the Pittsburgh game itself. Those are 2 games right there that you guys lost. The Baltimore game. So there's 3 games right there where that you guys could have or should have won. That didn't go in your favor. So that's something to take into consideration as well. What happens if we still play and we get the win? Then that just becomes very, 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 very impressive on you guys. Or that just means that the Las Vegas Raiders are absolutely piss poor pathetic. I mean, let's just be honest here. All right, let's continue on here. So this is the third part of the memo. This is testing out of quarantine for fully vaccinated players. So there are 3 different options. Real quick. Yeah, but Jeff, that's not the point. It doesn't have anything to do with the playoffs at this point. We don't have enough players. But I'm just saying. What's up? How you doing? And like I said, I was personally at this point, all bias aside, all hatred aside, or anything like that, just talking from a personal human standpoint, yeah, it makes no sense to make your team go out there and play the way that it's going. But I'm just saying that's just something that I've heard your fan base say and media members in Cleveland say. That's the only reason why I even brought it up. But let's talk about how you could get out of this. So he/she receives 2 test results or taken on the day after the positive swab is taken, day 1, which are either negative. So pretty much, if you can, it becomes very confusing on how this how the way the testing and how you could get out of it goes. 125 players plus have entered the protocol since Monday, while NBA stars Russell Westbrook and De'Aaron Fox entered the Sacramento's dealing with this as well. I know for Cleveland, the Cavaliers, Isaac Okoro just went in there. Isaac Okoro, yep, as you just mentioned. The NBA and NFL will need to shut down for a little bit. It's getting wild. I got bad news for you. That ain't happening. I have a better unless, especially with the NFL, with how close the season is to being done, for them to actually shut down, it would take either the government to say you need to shut down, or else it ain't happening. I have a better shot of eating 3 dinner boxes, getting a 6-pack, eating here, and all that happening in the span of 2 days than the NFL shutting down. And here comes the question too, and I'm just going to ask this itself. And Hunter, I know you are a Browns fan here, so I will ask you this: what are you guys just came off the bye week, and that's when things it slowly went to hell. You only had, what was it, 2 or 3 players originally that missed the first ball or the second Baltimore game, and then this week is when all hell just broke loose, and now you have the situation you were in. If you're Kevin Stefanski, if you're Andrew Berry, do you get into a situation where you just say, hey, I know it's bye week, you want to go and visit your family? Nah. You got to be safe here, especially with how late your bye week is. If this was a situation where your bye week was week 7, week 6, although it's a messed up situation regardless, just for the sake of the health of the players, but I think the situation and the scenario would be just a little bit different. But I think what makes this crucial is the fact of how late that this is going, the fact that we are 9 days away from Christmas for those that do celebrate. But the NFL hasn't had to postpone games so far like they have the NHL, though. And that's another thing, too, is because the NFL had made it certain that they were not going to postpone games, and which the NBA has also postponed. Yeah, because what was it for Chicago, for the Bulls? But I definitely think should have said that to the players. I think COVID was starting to get worse, and I think for the players' sake, they should have stayed at home. It sucks that was because our whole team is vaccinated. I think the only player that's not vaccinated for you guys that is known of was John Johnson III. If I'm not mistaken, quote me if I'm wrong here, but and I understand some people will say you can't tell grown men what to do when it comes to going visit their families because they're going to do that regardless, and how it's right before the holidays. This might be the one chance that they could go and see their family before the holiday season. I get that, but at the end of the day, you have a job to do, and if that job is requiring you to make sure that you do not get exposed to this, because let's be honest, these players are not going out they're just sitting at home or whatever. They're going out. They're going to see their old buddies. They're going to see their buddies. They're going out to party. They're going out to God knows where. And the players let their guard down. And I think that was the issue. Oh, he is? He just tweeted about an hour ago that he's been vaccinated. Okay. Well, the reason why I said that was just because that was the report that he was the only person that wasn't. But if I was wrong there, then I do apologize. And thank you for the correction. But it just, this whole situation just in itself, I'll be honest, is just so messed up. And I'm afraid to know how I would be. Or I think it was OBJ, or I almost think OBJ and Jarvis went out together. Maybe. But I'm very interested. Well, not interested at all. I'm happy. Well, let me not say it like that. I'm not happy that this is happening at all. I hate the fact that this is happening to anyone. And real quick, I just got a comment here on my Twitter. The Broncos had to start a wide receiver at QB last year. Play on. So pretty much a Broncos player is just saying, play on. So there's that if you want to take that how you want. Since both tested positive for COVID. Possibly. And here's my thing. I'm interested to see what I'm just going through Twitter right now and everything is just going nuts. But I'm interested to see what would happen because you always hear the theory of, if this was Tom Brady or if this was Patrick Mahomes, they would postpone the season or whatever. Well, first off, if it was Tom Brady, hell no, they won't, because we all know that Roger Goodell and Tom Brady have. Patrick Mahomes, and we saw what happened last year with with Lamar Jackson and the team, and they went through an outbreak as well. But that was just that game. Lamar Jackson still did not play in that game, so it did not matter in that. So you can't really say that because they would have waited till Lamar Jackson was healthy or he was able to come back for them to play that game. And B, you would have. Again, new information. So pretty much again. So it says here also, going back to the memo, any individual who does not receive the required number of negative tests to, quote, test out prior to the expiration of her 10-day quarantine period will be eligible to return to the club facility. If the club elects to elevate a player prior to his clearance, okay. I'm just trying to read out a little bit more of the memo itself. So here's a question too, is because what if the situation that you just got, what the Browns just had happen to them, where you just lost a quarterback and a backup quarterback? What if this happens in the playoffs? Because imagine if, I'm just going to throw out a random team. Let's just say the New England Patriots. They go into the playoffs. They go into a wild card or divisional round, whatever the hell it is, depending on, right now they would be a divisional because they're number one seed. And Mac Jones tests positive, and now, boom, if he doesn't test, well, then he's done. I'm wondering if you could, for the playoffs, do a bubble situation. And or have even more strict rules to this. And this is possibly something that the NFL should have talked about back in, when they were talking about this earlier this year. And it seems like the NFL did not want to expand this out even longer past President's Day or anything like that in the mid-February or later February. But I think in a situation like this, in case something like this were to happen towards in the middle of after the holiday or after Thanksgiving, before the holidays, where people are going to want to be with family, they're going to be around other people, why not have the bubble? Why not use the money and have a bubble situation, or just strengthen the protocols of, if you were in the playoffs, do not go anywhere. And I know the people, you can't tell an adult what to do or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, if you can't handle simple protocols like that, or not simple, well, if you can't handle the protocols to help your team out, if you want to be that selfish, well, then that's on you. That's just one position group that did not follow the rules. This is a whole team that is fully vaxxed and followed the rules. For the Broncos comment, Jacoby Myers, QB1. But I'm just saying, in that situation where that was just a comment. And B, and this goes back to what I said this year. A, new information. There wasn't a vaccine at that time last year like there was now. And that could possibly be. And also, okay, that was old news. I was getting ready to say Jalen Waddle tested positive, but that was old news. That was 6 hours ago. But yeah, this whole thing just in itself is, and let's see what happens tomorrow. Because any player that was around those guys that tested positive, it seemed like, let me go back to the comments, or let me scroll up here real quick so I can see the comment of who all you said. So you had one offensive player and 4 defensive players. So now your defense is, every player that's on defense could have possibly been exposed. And now you had and in this case, in this situation where now it doesn't matter if you ran a walkthrough like you did yesterday, or you were still getting exposed, I guess, unless you were truly wearing masks at all times and you were truly socially distancing. Do I think that was happening in those situations? Probably not. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to the final page here of these of the memo here. Let's move these out of here. So the additional protocol modifications. In addition to protocol modifications listed above, in effect through week 15, clubs should be prepared for additional modifications to the protocol, which will likely include a reduction in the tier limits. To the tier limits of the limitations that were imposed towards the end of the 2020 regular season. The modifications to the testing protocol. For purpose of clarity, until further notice, clubs must continue weekly testing for fully vaccinated individuals, daily testing for unvaxxed individuals, and any other testing will be directed by the NFL Chief Medical Officer for clubs in the enhanced migration protocol, which is pretty much if you have a certain amount of positive cases, you are going into that enhanced protocol. Jeff, I'm doing a franchise with the Jags after the show. You want to call me? Yeah, I will call you after. Because we could talk about this some more as well. And at one point, speaking of the Jags, I do want to get into, at some point, the Urban Meyer, he got canned earlier today, or at like 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So that is something that I want to get into as well. And we do have to get, this is a Pittsburgh sports show, so I do have to get into a little bit of the Steelers as well, because we have an absolute huge game coming up. And now you're asking yourself too, if you're Baltimore, who just played against a bunch of those guys that just played the Browns, now you're starting to wonder, how much effect is this going to have on us? It doesn't seem like right now they're having all that much effect, because they cannot afford to have any more injuries / misses to their roster, because they are just decimated. Especially now, you just lost Marlon Humphrey for the year. You lost him a couple weeks ago, and it just becomes a whole mess. But, all right. I do want to get into the Urban Meyer stuff. At least the Chargers Chiefs will be a good one though tonight. Yeah. For those that were wondering, I had gotten a couple people messaging me saying, "Are you going to do a live stream tonight like I did last week?" Unfortunately, I am not doing a live stream like that tonight. I do have to get up early in the morning to go and do work stuff, so I cannot do that. But I do want to make that a more regular thing, where I react to some of the better games that I can watch throughout the week. The reaction videos are still going to be coming out. That's going to continue. I know I didn't do one last week. I did one obviously with the live stream. But yeah, we're going to continue with those. Let's go ahead. I want to talk a little bit about this Urban Meyer thing. And again, for any new viewer that wants to that hops in here, if you got anything you want to say about the COVID situation, drop it down below. We'll talk about that. But I want to talk about this about the Urban Meyer getting canned situation, because this This is not good if you were Urban Meyer. I loved Urban at Ohio State and for what he did to us, but he was such an awful NFL coach. The way he treated his players/coaches were horrid. Benching James Robinson multiple times was awful. And okay, I know you're waiting. I'm waiting on the other comment part. But yeah, we're going to get into that. I have a timeline of all the events that happened throughout his less than a year span of being in the NFL. I don't think he helped Trevor Lawrence at all. I'm excited to see what a different side of Lawrence and Robinson these last couple weeks. Yeah, because here's the thing though with Urban Meyer. And I was on this all along saying he wasn't going to last. And I know a lot of people were too. I'm not going to act like I'm the only genius here. A lot of people had that belief as well. But I can't say that I'm mad at Urban Meyer for trying. Now, the way that he handles some of the stuff, that I could have an issue with. But the fact that he went out, tried the NFL, it did not work, I can respect that. The same with Tim Tebow. I know everyone wanted to clown Tim Tebow and the way that he looked at his time with the Jags, and it didn't work. But again, I can't fault him for trying a different position. Because if you're those players, if you're Tim Tebow or Urban Meyer, if you didn't try it out, you would always wonder, and some of the fans would wonder, what would happen? It never hurts to try. And I respect both of them for that. It didn't work out, but here you go. But let's talk about the timeline for Urban Meyer as his time in Jacksonville. So January 14th, he was hired by the Jags. All right. February 11th. So not even a month later, he hired former Iowa strength and conditioning coach Chris Doyle, who resigned less than 48 hours away. Or 48 hours after, so not even 2 days after he was hired, he resigned, or because there was backlash for the hire from former players speaking out against him with alleged racism and bullying that led to his departure at Iowa. So there was a bunch of flag for that. He resigns 2 days later, and then he came out. Urban Meyer's, saying we have full trust in everyone, blah, 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 whatever. May 20th, they go out, they signed Tim Tebow as a tight end, and everyone had fun with that. And obviously, Tim Tebow has not played he has not been in the NFL in God knows how long. He tried the minor league baseball. He wasn't the worst, he wasn't the best either. And, again, I can't fault him for trying that out. July 1st, the Jaguars were fined $300,000 for violation of contact during off-season practices, and the Jags were fined $200,000, and Meyer was fined $100,000, and Jacksonville also lost 2 OTA sessions as punishment. So that right there, that becomes a huge issue in itself. If you're you're already on the bad side of the NFL and you're already breaking rules. September 15th, this is when the USC job became open. People were bombarding him about it. He said he denied the USC job, which nowadays you can never. Any coach that says, I'm not taking this job, I'm never taking you serious. Well, not that I'm taking you serious, but I'm never going to believe you until it actually happens, because this has been a story that we've seen way too much. We saw this with Lincoln Riley. Hell, you want to go back a long time ago? We saw this with Nick Saban when he was at Miami, saying I wasn't going to take the Alabama job. Yes, I'm going to take the Alabama job. And, hell, even look at Urban Meyer before. Left Florida, was like, I'm never coaching again. Goes to Ohio State, has his tumor situation. He goes, and we were all thinking he was done, and obviously we all saw how that went. October 2nd. The infamous, he did not ride home with the team after the Thursday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and he had a woman on his lap that was not named Shelley Meyer. So the infamous picture comes out, and holy hell. And allegedly, too, this restaurant that he was at or place had his name on it. So that made it 10 times dumber. Although people were saying he was absolutely dialed in. You know, people were making those jokes, but good Lord. Then he got put on probation for it. December 6th, benched James Robinson for a fumble that he had against the Rams. And, again, you're in a situation where you don't really have that many playmakers. You can't. If you want to bench him for a series or two, fine, but, games, no. December 11th, a report from NFLs.com, Tom Palazzolo, came out that Urban Meyer called his assistant coaches losers in meetings and demanded they explain their individual accolades. Basically, the assistants had to defend their resumes. So that just became a huge egotistical asshole move right there by Urban Meyer. And then we had, calling, Urban Meyer came out and said, calling someone a loser, that's inaccurate. I have high expectations for our coaches. I am very demanding of our coaches and expect guys to be held accountable for their position. And at times when they are not, we address it. But I assure you, there was not whatever report. That is nonsense. Again, I call bullshit. Plus Newsome, Hunt, Conklin. Okay, real quick. Browns COVID list: Baker, Jarvis, Hooper, Wyatt Teller, Jedrick Wills, Tech McKinley, Malik McDowell, Anthony Walker, John Johnson III, Troy Hill, Akiti, Jamie Gillen, Ronnie Harrison, Case Keenum, Grant Delpit, AJ Green, Jacob Phillips, plus Newsome with a concussion. Hunt, is he dealing with an ankle? And then Conklin, he's out for the year after we saw, he tore his meniscus and his knee absolutely buckled on live television. Holy hell. Yeah, if the NFL, you make these guys play, well, the hell with you. Getting back to this Urban Meyer situation. And then the final straw, or the final nail in the coffin, was on December 15th. Former Jaguars kicker Josh Lambo said to Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times that Urban Meyer kicked him during warm-ups, which Lambo reported the incident to the team's legal counsel, and that, my friend, becomes the end of the Urban Meyer era in the NFL. Ankle injury. Okay. But with this whole thing, with Urban Meyer, going into this, there were certain coaches that can make that transition from college to the NFL. We've seen Cliff Kingsbury do it. We saw Pete Carroll do it. Technically Nick Saban did that as well. And I know I'm forgetting a crap ton as well. So don't, go ahead and drop them all down below. Those are just a few. And some of them worked, some of them haven't. Actually, you know what? I have a list, if I'm not mistaken. I have a list of all the... Yes, I do, right here. So this is since 2000, hired as first-time NFL head coaches after going to college since 2000. If they play on Saturday, only 7 of the possible 22 starters are playing. Yeah. The NFL will catch a lot of backlash if they don't, or if they actually play that game. But, so in 2001, here goes the Browns. Since we're talking about them, Butch Davis goes from Miami to the Cleveland Browns, has a record of 24-35. Nick Saban, from LSU to the Dolphins, had 15-17 record. Bobby Petrino, that scumbag asshole. I don't apologize for my language talking about him. He went from Louisville to the Atlanta Falcons, went 3-10, deservingly so. Jim Harbaugh went from Stanford. That is right, he did coach at Stanford. He went to the 49ers, he had a very good run there. 44-19-1, went to a Super Bowl, so you got to give him credit there. Greg Schiano went from Rutgers to Tampa Bay, had an 11-21 record. Doug Marrone went from Syracuse to Buffalo, he had a 15-17 record. Chip Kelly, hey, we got a positive record here. He went from Oregon to Philadelphia, had a 26-21 record. Bill O'Brien, another positive record, went from Penn State to the Houston Texans and had a 52-48 record. I was going to say 52-18. Damn, he's looking good. And then Cliff Kingsbury. So 5 years in between. Cliff Kingsbury goes from Texas Tech to the Arizona Cardinals. And right now he is 23-20-1. Matt Rule went from Baylor to the Panthers, 10-19, and then Urban Meyer. Random question because I'm on a Madden franchise. What team do you see going after Juju in free agency? Oh boy, I'm trying to think of teams that need wide receivers. I don't know. I'd have to think about that for a minute, and that'll be something that we could discuss when we get into our call after this. But yeah, this whole thing with Urban Meyer, the thing is with him, and this goes to what I was trying to say. Certain coaches coach certain ways. Urban Meyer, in the way that he coached, works wonders in college because you are going there. You know, everyone knows you as Urban Meyer, the legendary head coach, won multiple national championships. He is one of the greatest college football head coaches of all time. We get that, and players will go to him regardless of how he treated his players because they knew that the reward could possibly lead into a national championship. But you couldn't coach the way, and this is something I said from day one, the way that he coaches, you cannot coach in the NFL. You cannot yell and scream at players in the NFL like you do in college because it's hard. It's also, you imagine yelling at someone who could possibly make more money than him. And I understand money isn't everything, but when it comes to these situations, that's the first thing that's going to be brought up. If I'm player X and I'm making more money than Urban Meyer and he starts yelling at me and going crazy, I'm not going to listen to you. You know, why am I not listening to someone that doesn't make as much money as me or whatever? And, you know, and there's also a respect kind of deal. Bill Belichick can do that because he also has the reputation. He has the accolades in the NFL. He is respected in the NFL. So if you heard it all the time where Tom Brady and Bill Belichick would go they would dog each other and they would yell at each other and scream at each other. But at the end of the day, Tom Brady still respected Bill Belichick as far as we're concerned. And Bill Belichick still obviously respected Tom Brady, so you were going to have that. And I understand it's a quarterback head coach situation, but it could be for anyone. If you were, name any scenario you want. Would the Jags be one? Chark's a free agent, and I think Marvin Jones, and have Marvin Jones and Chenault. Could I see them going for him? Yeah. Will he go there? Probably not, unless they give him this, which right now his value is not high at all. But yeah, the way that he coaches, wasn't going to work. And again, I don't blame him for trying. Now, like I said, the way that he treated some of his players was not good, but and his assistants, you can't do that. That's just kind of scumbag-ish. But, I guess at the end of the day, you live and you learn. And now it's going to be interesting to see how Trevor Lawrence is going to look without that distraction. Now Urban Meyer is gone. Now, who's to say he won't go out there and maybe ball out a little bit? And let's also not forget the fact that Travis Etienne, who is supposed to be one of the better playmakers, to come right in and make an impact. He hasn't played all year because he's dealt with a Liz Frank injury. All right, I do need to get into we have 10 minutes before the show is over. I do need to get into something that involving the Steelers. So I do need to talk about the I'm not going to really talk about much of the Vikings game just because that game is kind of in the past, way in the past now. It's been a week. I do want to get into the game coming up though against Tennessee because This is a huge game for the Steelers because right now you're in a situation where you just lost a game that, you played terrible in the first half. That was absolutely pathetic. But you were able to come back in the second half. And if you would have won that game, that would have been phenomenal. But you didn't. And then you put yourself in a little bit bigger of a hole where you're currently 6-6-1 in the 11th seed. Now, let's talk about this for a minute. Let's look at the teams that are ahead of you. Denver, they're ahead of you at 7-6. You have the tiebreaker against them in a tiebreaker situation. Cincinnati, they clearly have the tiebreaker over you, or over us. Cleveland at 7-6. They are number 8. They're on the outside of looking in. They go 7-7. We have the tiebreaker over them, so that would drop them down below us. Buffalo, we have the tiebreaker against. Indianapolis, no, or that would just be based on divisions and stuff. L.A., no. Baltimore, no. Kansas City, to be determined. Tennessee, to be determined. So, 2 of your last 4 opponents. So you play Baltimore again. You play Kansas City, and you play Tennessee, and then you play Cleveland. All 4 of those games are teams that are in the playoff picture. 3 of them lead their division. Tennessee this week, Kansas City next week. Well, then we get Cleveland on Monday Night Football. Then we get Baltimore. So this is going to be a super hard schedule. And at this point, I said this last week, and I will say it again. I'm going to react the way I do every week just because that's how I am in the moment. But if we were to lose out the rest of the year, it is what it is. I did a mock draft video earlier this week where I reacted to Todd McShay's mock draft. And spoiler alert, I liked who he had picking for us. So make sure to go and check that out. After this, I will put a link in the description for that video. But going into that game, this game against Tennessee, pretty much, on defense, you're going to have to play the run better. You were last in the NFL in rushing defense. You cannot have that. And I understand Minnesota, they're a pretty good running team. I don't care. The way that those holes were gaping, wide open. I could have fit 3 semi trucks in those holes. Gap control was non-existent. Just like my love life, non-existent. But, and then on top of that, in the first half, you're going to have to get off to a better start, and we're seeing a theme here again. When Ben Roethlisberger can start, when he picks his plays and we start to run tempo, things look good. You can tell there's a huge difference when Matt Canada is calling the plays versus when Ben Roethlisberger is out there controlling the offense and making the decisions himself. And, we also could have possibly won that game if Chase Clay dumbass would have decided to actually not decide to do his own thing. He did his point. Yeah, well, he pointed his way to an L because he cost his team 10 to 15 seconds. But we need music in practice. Chase Claypool, do me a favor. Grow the hell up. I really hope all the slander that you got this week really wakes your ass up and learn that you need to grow the hell up. And some of the comments that we heard earlier this week from Steeler legend and NFL legend himself, Mean Joe Green, some of the comments that he made just about this team, and I hope you saw those as well, Chase. Some of the effort that we've seen lately has been nothing but piss poor, pitiful. If I'm not mistaken, that was the word that he used. That's all I have to say. But until then, other than that, going into this game, blah 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 blah. Tennis. Okay, so this is an even matchup in terms of Vegas right now. Ryan Tannehill, he has not looked the greatest this year. 14 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Whoop-de-doo. Ben Roethlisberger, he is not looking that... he's going... Look, I want to talk about his stats for a minute. So he's 12th in yards. That's actually a little bit surprising. He has 3,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So he's not bad. He hasn't been bad. He was limited in practice today. He's dealing with a pec / shoulder. I'm not, surprised by that. I would expect him to play. But yeah, his projections are actually pretty nice. 3,700 yards, 23 touchdowns, 9 picks. That is not bad for Ben Roethlisberger in his age 39 year, but apparently he's washed. Yeah. But until then, unless you guys got anything else you want to talk about, I'll give you guys a minute or so to discuss. I think we're going to end this a couple minutes early. Actually, no, before we do that, I have an announcement I want to make as I go back to my Twitter real quick. I have an announcement. Starting this Sunday, every day at 7 o'clock p.m., except for Thursday, it'll be at 7:30 p.m., we're doing a new... There's going to be a series that's coming out here on the channel. 7 Days of Bensmas. What 7 Days of Bensmas is. And I announced this also, if I'm not mistaken, in the... let me see if I can find it. In the mock draft video that I did. I did where we discussed everything that goes on to that, but I will announce it again. So what it is we're going through 7 different events that involves Ben Roethlisberger. Like I will go through the videos that we have. Starting out on Sunday, we have starting out on Sunday, Ben Roethlisberger clutch moment / game-winning drives. Ben Roethlisberger is superhuman, which is where he played on one leg against Cleveland in the Thursday night game. He got hurt his ankle, thought something bad happened, came out in the second half, won the football game. Rookie year highlights, so we're going back to 2004, watching his rookie year highlights. Number 4 is 500-yard passing games, because he has 4. There is only 3 being shown in that video, and I'll explain why there's only 3 in that video. Number 5 is 2018 highlights, where he led the NFL in passing yards. He had over 5,000 yards. Led over Patrick Mahomes, who was the MVP that year. But yeah, he led the NFL in passing yards that year, so we reacted to those. Number 6, Christmas Eve, we reacted to Super Bowl 43 highlights. And then on Christmas Day, for the final video, we're doing Ben Roethlisberger career highlights. So, I hope you guys are going to enjoy that. I had a lot of fun making those videos, and I hope you enjoy watching them. And again, thank you everyone for the support. Thank you everyone who has subscribed as of late for the new subs, and for everyone, we're currently at 207. I understand that's only 207 people, but for some people that wouldn't be much, but to me, and I know to Caleb, that means absolutely everything to us. And again, I cannot thank you enough for the support. But until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Next week's show, we're just make sure to stay tuned in for the next couple weeks on when the shows will be going on. There might be a little bit of a change in the schedule, but again, hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, everyone. Especially stay safe. Make sure to mask up and all that. And until then, have a wonderful weekend. Peace out.